We called him one of the most important players for Penn State to retain in the class of 2026, and just 3.5 days later, no longer a part of the class of 2026 for the Nittany Lions. I'm Thomas Frankar, recruiting reporter, publisher for Blue White Illustrated. Sean Fitz joining me to talk about Jahsiear Rogers no longer being a part of the class and a part of Penn State's future. So Fitz, rough news this weekend. We were talking about these things as possibilities. So what do we know about the situation with Jahsiear Rogers this morning?
Yeah, Jahsiear Rogers. First off, I hope everyone enjoyed their bye week. Was able to take a deep breath and get back on track, get ready for this marathon of the coaching search. But recruiting is going to be an underlying theme in the whole thing leading up to National Signing Day, even leading up beyond that when these guys can enroll in January and possibly sign the second period in February there. But yeah, that one stings. Jahsiear Rogers committed to Oklahoma. He set up 3 visits after his, alleged opening of his recruitment, one to Oklahoma, an official to Nebraska, an official to Alabama. Just took him one trip to Oklahoma. And it's going to be one that stings because you're looking at a guy that Penn State just found under the radar, came to camp last summer, the summer prior, ran a 4.3, was a hidden gem. And this is one that is going to sting for a while because you take a look at what Penn State has needed, and it's needed an electric athlete on the outside that can catch the football, make contested catches and things of that nature. We're very high on Jahsiear Rogers at on 3. That continues to be the case. And it's going to be a tough situation for whoever the next guy is because you're losing some explosive playmakers, not just with Jahsiear Rogers, but Davion Brown decommitted a couple of weeks ago. LeVar Keys is apparently on the verge of flipping to, not really flipping, but he opened up his recruitment. He's probably going to go to Indiana. So there's a lot going on here at the position that's probably been under the most scrutiny in the last couple of cycles.
Yeah, and it's something that we talked about, I think, last week on Thursday. Ryan, I think, made the point that it was an excellent point that you could make the argument Jahsiear Rogers could be one of the team's top receivers next year with whatever happens in the transfer portal, what happens with this particular roster. All 3 seniors that they brought in for this year are all gone, and then you might have some more turnover there. So the impact for the immediate future, and of course in the class of 2026, is pretty evident. Now, this is the part where I think that if you're an Oklahoma fan and you're just tuning in, learning about Jahsiear Rogers, he is one of the most athletic players in Penn State's class. You may see the 3-star, 410 overall, as you can see here on the On3 and Rivals recruiting database. 90 overall, 196 for Jahsiear Rogers, and that's, I think, low in terms of his potential, his ability. This is a guy who's got incredible hands, athleticism, as Fitz mentioned, runs in the 4.3s, not the biggest guy in the world, just under 5'11", 175, but is a guy that is athletic and has a lot of playmaking, above-the-rim potential. Probably Fitz my favorite receiver that I've scouted for Penn State. And I know that's not saying a lot, but in the last 5-6 years. I mean, this is probably the closest thing that Penn State's had to Jahan Dotson in a while. And already as athletic as Jahan Dotson was at the end of his career, let alone at the beginning when he came to Penn State in 2018.
Yeah, this is a guy, typically, you find those guys that are really good football players, or you find those guys that are freak athletes that you have to mold into really good football players. I think he kind of met in the middle, and that's why we have him so highly ranked, by the way, on Rivals, not on 3. My mistake. Forgot about that for a minute. There's a lot going on right now. But yeah, if you look at Rogers, he's a guy that, has done it on the 7-on-7 circuit. He's done it at the high school circuit. He gets dinged for playing in Delaware, but in terms of straight athleticism, triangle numbers and things of that nature, he is among the best in the country. You said probably one of the best athletes in the class. I think he was the best athlete in the class. It's hard to go pound for pound, but Jahsiear Rogers was that guy. They were really excited about him. When you're talking to people in the building last summer, maybe even before that, they're thinking, man, this guy could push for 5-star status, and that's not something they really take for granted or use lightly. This is a guy that's got a lot of different tools, and like I said, he's going to get dinged for playing in Delaware. And he's got some refining to do on his game. He's got some refining to do on and off the field, but you've got a lot to like there in Jahsiear Rogers. And that's kind of where it hurts, right? When you're talking about Penn State, you're talking about what I thought was a really good receiver class, including LeVar Keys and Davion Brown, a variety of different receivers. They've sort of moved to some of those guys that can make plays after the catch with Brown, with a guy like Matt Otten, who's a freshman at Penn State now. And I think Jahsiear Rogers kind of split that difference, an inside-out guy that you could put all over the field.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to rub it in for Penn State fans, but just to kind of underline why we were so high on this guy, despite being 5'11", incredible length and frame as well. So just when you're looking at maybe a guy that doesn't have the stats, the stars, all those things, just kind of trying to explain the importance of Jahsiear Rogers to Penn State's class and how they're trying to keep him under the radar. So I guess the next thing, Fitz, is, and I know that there's not really an answer to this because Penn State needs a head coach first, but where does Penn State go from here, and is there anything they can do to stop the bleeding? Like, we talked about Pat Kraft being integral into these conversations and being a part of this to try and keep some of these top players as part of the program. Obviously, that didn't work in this situation. I don't know what the efforts were there, but what does Penn State do now with one of the top players that we mentioned on Thursday already off the board, like I said, less than a week after we had that conversation? How do they reverse course here?
Yeah,
if possible.
Reversing course, I think it might be out the window, because you're looking at a situation where you're just trying to, as you said, stop the bleeding, but just slow the bleeding. I mean, there's no applying direct pressure here. It's just trying to keep those guys as engaged as long as possible. And honestly, in a situation like this, keep them taking visits, because the longer they take visits, the less likely they are to shut things down. And then maybe you swoop in the back end and are able to hire somebody before National Signing Day, even if not, sort of go to January when you can just enroll without signing those papers. So that's the part that's going to continue to be dicey for Penn State, especially because those guys that are doing the recruiting are realistic as well, that they're probably not going to be working here a couple months from now. So that's kind of what you're trying to do here, is to just keep them with you, encourage them to take visits, but encourage them to stay open-minded and stay open. Yep. And, you committed to Penn State in the first place. That's there's a reason for that. So you're going to see other guys pop up on visits in the next couple of weeks. Actually, it's already started. I think Elijah Littlejohn has been out to a couple different places. I think he was at Vandy this weekend. Tavion Branch looks to be an Ole Miss lean. He's going to go there in November. Jack Fuchs was at Kentucky this weekend. And I mentioned LeVar Keys probably going to flip to Indiana after going there this weekend. That's a good glut of your class right there. Of course, you've got other guys like Kevin Brown, who's supposed to take an official visit to West Virginia this week, which is, again, we talked about this on the show before, but intriguing as a West Virginia legacy. I think he still wants to be at Penn State, but I also think he wants to, cover his bases, which that's absolutely what he needs to do. And, there's going to be a spot for him at Penn State, no matter who the coach is. And if they would not have a spot for Kevin Brown, that would be a huge question there. But yeah, you continue to get these guys that are especially Pennsylvania guys, and that's kind of what hurts with Jahsiear Rogers is, a Delaware guy is essentially an extended Pennsylvania guy, because you've got him, you've got Isaac Chikwara, Leighton Von Brandt was committed in the class of 2027. He opened it up. So you've got different guys that are going around checking out different opportunities. You want to retain a guy like Matt Sieg, who I think, again, another kid that wants to come to Penn State. It's just you have to have all that stuff in order. And we're seeing the class of 2026 as a sort of collateral damage type situation. It's tough to say it like that. It's tough to say, apparently, because I keep tripping over my words this morning. But it's a situation where this is not the main focus of the coaching search. You can't hire a guy just to salvage a 2026 class. The portal class is very important here, and that's going to be early January when you can get those guys in. And by the way, you bring in a guy that's coming from another program, another Power 4 program, he's probably going to bring his favorite recruits with him as well. So there will be some semblance of a 2026 class. It's just very different than what we envisioned a month ago.
In football and in finance, having a strong game plan makes all the difference. AJ Freedom Financial helps individuals build personalized financial strategies that align with their goals, timelines, and risk tolerance. From investment guidance and retirement planning to 401k rollovers, HSA assistance, and legacy and wealth strategies, AJ Freedom Financial offers thoughtful, one-on-one support backed by industry experience and a commitment to transparency. Whether you're starting to invest, planning for retirement, or you simply want a second look at your financial approach, AJ Freedom Financial is here to help you make informed, confident decisions. Schedule a no-obligation consultation today at www.ajffi.com. Call 866-383-6899 or email info@ajffi.com. Again, that's ajffi.com. Call 866-383-6899 or email info@ajffi.com. AJ Freedom Financial, helping Nittany Lions fans plan for what's next. Securities and investment advisory services offered through Gradient Securities, LLC. Arden Hills, Minnesota, 866-991-1539. Member FINRA, SIPC. Gradient Securities, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor, offers investment advisory services under the DBA of Gradient Wealth Management. Gradient Securities, LLC, and its advisors do not render tax, legal, or accounting services. Insurance products and services offered through AJ Freedom Financial. AJ Freedom Financial and Freedom Financial Insurance, LLC, are not affiliated with Gradient Securities, LLC. Yeah, and as you saw on the screen just now, Penn State is 18th in the current Rivals rankings for team rankings. 9 3-star, 9 4-star, 18 players in the class. I actually don't know if that's been updated yet, but as a 3-star, I don't know that Jahsiear Rogers would make as much of the impact to the perception of those rankings. But as we mentioned here in this article or in this conversation, very important to Penn State's future, and we'll be monitoring more throughout the week how all those things go, as Fitz just laid out some of the other players, some of the other names for you to know in terms of who might be next. And the portal on the backside, we are in the trough of this. We are in the downswing. These are the bad news updates. There will be good news updates in the future, but right now this is the predicted outcome that Penn State had when they decided to change their head coach in early October, I believe it was at that point. And now here we are in late October, and the damage is currently incurring.
Yeah, and you were looking at the commitment list there, and I mean, essentially 0 commits for Penn State right now. Like, I know that there's the 18 guys listed. 18 guys listed right now, but this is subject to change, and I think everybody understands that. A lot of those guys committed, but open, if you will. I think maybe Adam McCann-Gibbs, the punter from Ireland, he's looking forward to getting here in January. So, he's hoping there's a program for him to come to.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're finding yourself in this situation. You're going to see Penn State commits visit different spots. I'm very curious to see how Penn State handles the Indiana game in terms of visitors, because you've got guys that can fill up those sidelines, but it's not going to be anybody that changes your class or anybody that would commit to you, because I don't think that would be a well-timed decision.
You're not, and you're also not going to just take players, right? You're not just going to say like a guy like, hey, we need numbers. So a guy that maybe didn't fit the standard previously, you're going to accept his commitment now, knowing that, as you just said, doesn't mean anything, because the guys that you're committing to are not potentially there. It's a high probability they're not there long term anyway.
Yeah, the next guy, the next head coach and his GM and his recruiting staff and all that kind of stuff will be the determiners of whether or not these guys stick. And hey, we're at a tier right now with Penn State that it's high enough that whoever comes in is probably going to leave the door open for most, if not all, of these guys. We saw when James Franklin got here in 2014, the class was not this good, I don't believe, but they still managed to keep a lot of those guys around. I know some kind of bolted right away, but it's a different world. But Penn State, a lot of these guys picked Penn State over other top tier programs or other Power 4 programs. So I think that they'll be fine with sticking. And the new guys got to win back Pennsylvania. I say win back, I mean keep things high in Pennsylvania and the surrounding areas. So that's going to be a very intriguing plot line for when this does happen. But yeah, we want you to read recruiting content with the understanding of how this is all part of the bigger picture. And I think that that's what we're looking at with a guy like Jahsiear Rogers. I mean, are you able to get back in that game at all? Tougher when a guy flips away than when a guy sort of kicks the can down the road.
Yeah. And part of the timing of this decision to do it in early in the season, instead of, as you mentioned, when James Franklin was hired in December after Bill O'Brien left in January or December, I believe it was, end of December. The timing of those things a lot different in the situation when you have all this time for attrition. Now, how they recover from that, the point is that the upswing on the other side should be considerable, given what Pat Kraft got rid of and what he's trying to get out of this coaching search. So all that coming up. BlueWhiteIllustrated.com. We've got a full season of content left for you. Just because these things are happening off the field and the current 0-4 streak on the field doesn't mean that the content is going to a lesser degree we're here the rest of the season and beyond in this coaching search. So join us over at BlueWhiteIllustrated.com for just $1. And of course, if you're watching this video, subscribe here. It's totally free. It is a high protein click where you get 5 grams of protein if you just click the subscribe button, and you'll meet your daily goals. Of course, like a supplement, that's not been tested by the FDA, so you can't sue me for saying that. We'll be back with more news breaks here on the Blue White Illustrated YouTube channel. For Sean Fitz, who's doing everything but covering his face, we'll be back next time.